Welcome friends, Realm77. Here is a build I spent a long time on. Wanted to build a raid trap, basically a sink that they flow into the center. Needed a location away from the base, so I took this spot right here, flew around it a little bit. I decided I was going to build right here. Next step was to chop down trees. Chopping down, I went a little bit slow, so I built some 6-pack beacons, so I get all the boosts that a beacon supplies. Build a handful of those, chop down all the trees, so I'm pretty much sure I got all those out of the area I wanted. Then what I needed to do was define the shape. So I had to do a big square in the sky, and that's what you're seeing me do here is put a big red stone square in the sky to define the shape where I can carve out the land and finish going with all the trees. And to add to the border, I put water buckets on the corners and on each center of this that would flow down and show me where the border is on the land. And that's what I'm doing right here. The water bucket, boom, and I did that on all the other corners. And then from there it was just cutting out the stone. I used a silk touch, that way I keep all the ores, and I mined for a long time. And then I got all that done. Just mining. And just show this one little clip for reference. I went down to level 63. That's where the water level is. I got most of that spot done. And I believe I went back down, finished it. Oh, there's some trees there. I got to get rid of that. And then that's gone. That's cleared out. The next step was start building the sink for the trap. And then this is just showing me that it's cleared. There's the sink trap made out of redstone. Now, this thing was really cool, but I finished it and I built the deck, and it was off by like 1 or 2 blocks, and I had to rebuild the whole thing. So everything you're seeing right now ended up getting rebuilt, so it worked better. Later you'll see they'll have sea lanterns instead of stone blocks. That is after the rebuild, and the water flowed much better. So then on top of the stone is the leaf blocks. Raid villagers will not spawn on a leaf block, so we didn't want them to spawn on that. We wanted them to only spawn on the water, and they could flow down to the center. So we got that done. Then the next step was I decided I'm going to make this a pyramid, so I added another border, push it out to the height of the build to the distance out, and then cut all that land out underneath the border. And then you're going to see a clip here where it's gone. All that land's gone, and I found an ancient hidden village that was in that land, and just left it there for a second. Then we poured the water in the re-established sink trap. And then we threw some stuff in there just to make sure everything worked. And it worked really nicely. What you're seeing is there's beacons. There's 6-pack beacons, 4 of them within the sink trap. Give you all the boots that you're going to need when you're fighting the mobs. Everything flows to the center nicely. And then we did sea lantern blocks for the pyramid, and then put stone steps on top of that, so you can just run out the side if you're outside of the trap. And there, that is complete. And then there's a catwalk going inside to a bottom room for all the stuff, and a villager room to create the fake village. And then we started doing buckets of water, because I wanted to fill the whole thing up with water, which was a monumental task, but I finally completed it. So we did about 6 or 7 layers up with water buckets, and I switched to ice blocks. And switching to ice blocks was a way better call, and I could just slam those in there and then just mine them out with a pickaxe, and then turn into water. So that took a while, and finally got that done. Once I got the whole thing full of water, I added the villagers, and then I did a couple of test runs with the raid, and it works really good. I wrote a book on what you could expect for this raid trap, and there it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to treat it like a sink, and I have a warp from an add-on, and the top 3 warps is the villager room, the top, and the stuff room. And if you just use the warp, you can go straight over there, drink your Animus bottle, pause a raid, and if you have Death Strider 3, that's going to help you just run circles around those guys in the water. And if you have more than one person could be in the bottom, and one person could be on top, and it's pretty fun. And then let's just go over there, and those are the warps I was talking about. You get one of those, and bam, you're there. You don't have to fly over there. And this thing took me about a little more than 3,000 Minecraft days to build this. Of course, I was doing other things, other builds I got going on. And this thing works exactly like I wanted it to. We're going to put the armor on, drink a bottle, and then I had this thing on fast forwarded like ×8. It sounded kind of funny. And just slamming through these villagers. And there you have it. Go down to the stuff room where the hoppers lead all the loot down to the chest. You can separate it down there to the excess chest. Bam. Kill the last guy. Now, if you wanted to, you can let them fall into the sink and get them on a platform down in the villager room right there. There's all your XP waiting for you. And go down to the stuff room, and that's where all the inventory is. And you can just run raids all day on that thing and get your emeralds and all your loot, your totems of undying, and there you have it. All right. Cheerio.